Now, if you start blaming the previous governments, as we know on and off, that I couldn't do anything because of the previous government. I have inherited so much so loans where I have totally tied up with these loans and could not move forward. These sort of languages and statements will never give any benefit, not to you, neither to any one or the society. And if you start playing that kind of blames, accusing the previous government, that means you are confessing, you are admitting yourself that you are very incapable, incompetent to handle all these things, because the people voted and elected you thinking that there are so many affairs to be mended and there are shortfalls to be overcome. As such, people have entrusted you to carry forward, to move forward with them and lead them to a better life. Now, you know, if you start comparing with those who are incompetent, that means two dwarfs are competing each other or comparing each other, saying, I am taller than you. Of course, those two dwarfs, maybe one may be taller than other, but still there. So likewise, to set a parameter in order to compare, you cannot set a parameter to compare with you, which is with those who are incompetent. Therefore, I am saying, in order to make a good governance, you have to eradicate in your government injustice, corruption, incompetence. When you are hiring, you must hire based on merit and without or regardless of your, without regarding or giving utmost importance to your, avoiding favorism, which I meant to say. So these are the basic elements that one should have always while administering and running of the government and conducting the public affairs.
So the public affairs justice system and the social justice system and the public accountability, all these will definitely matter a lot when we talk about good governance. We'll take a break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are discussing a nation in peril, blighted by failed governance, this particular book, in the context of Maldives. So this book is discussing the situation in Maldives in terms of governance. When you consider this journey of democracy, when you look at the issues you have raised here, the journey has been quite consequential as well as far as the development is concerned. It is, for example, housing and infrastructure, and there is a boom, and quite notably, boom is noticeable across the country, and mostly within the Greater Mali region. And yet we find, in spite of us being a very homogeneous people of one race, one religion, one culture, one language, and there is so much oneness that binds us together, and yet we have been almost torn apart. I wouldn't say torn apart as yet, but we are being torn apart because of the bipartisan politicking that's happening in the Maldives. So what may be the possible solution as far as consequentiality of this phrase, democracy in the Maldives is concerned?
Yeah, it's a very complex question. Before I go there, I should also try to use this opportunity to try and say this book was published in 2022, so that's 3 years ago, and it took us another 3 years to be able to bring out another one in Divehi. This is
translation of
this is a translation of it. Gaume halakuge tumfai matiga. That's the way we had translated the nation in peril. Now, it's quite a long document, but it's very readable because we have made the contents in a way that you can go to any topic you want and just read that if you want. You don't have to go from page 1 to the end. This is a 350 document. I think what we have written will help students, researchers, politicians, and the public also to better understand democracy. Because, again, I have to reiterate that knowing democracy is so important if we are going to use it to better our lives. Like a motorcycle, like a car, or like a boat, if you don't know how to drive it, obviously you will run aground or have an accident. It's most possible. So, as Dr. Zakaria said, the real issue really here is the details of how to govern. Because you can begin a process, but if you don't know how to go through the process, then you will fall on difficult times. And one of the most important things in leading people is the factor of honesty. And Dr. Zakaria mentioned very well, I think in Islam also, that is the prime importance, honesty and to be respectful of the responsibility you have got. You must deliver on your responsibilities. Because in democracy, there's an aspect called accountability. You know, leaders must be accountable to the people because people are really your bosses. So like a servant in the house, the servant cannot do anything he wants. He has to get permission from the house owner or the master of the house, which are the people. So it's a simple analogy, but I think we have to begin. But I would say in Maldives, we had a culture of kingdoms for how many centuries? It's always been kingdoms, and lately, even in the 1950s and onwards also, we have had an autocratic approach to governance, even though we called it a democracy. We didn't call it democracy per se, but we have a majlis also, we have a judiciary, but they were all packed into one, where the boss had the authority to tell the judges also how to deal with a case, or the legislature also who can manipulate the majlis to his own whims. And that is why I think we brought in democracy, the agents of democracy that began this in I think early 2000, and 2005, I believe, and then finally in 2008 we had a constitution and demanded the democratic process to be the process by which we govern our nation. And through that we brought in something called the parties also. Now the parties are a very interesting thing in democracy. I think we have to bring that up because people must understand party is not like a football party or a music party or just fun party. It is a very serious thing. The party is formed mainly in other countries, especially sectarian countries where you have lots of kinds of people, different languages, different religions. They have to have a party approach because their ideas have to come into the national policy directives that are formed or the laws and regulations that are made. And so we have to think of Maldives. Now Maldives brought in democracy and said multi-party democracy was very important because everybody else did that. But in a nation, as you just said, which has one language, one heritage, one race, so to say, and one way of life, one religion, one language, it was a cohesive whole. Now that cohesive whole has to be because of this democracy and because some people had parties, we also should have parties. But in other countries, parties have a very direct philosophy that guides the people. Now in India you may have Aam Aadmi Party, that is the ordinary people's party, or you may have a communist party, or you may BJP, Bharat Janata Party, which also has a very fundamental functional response of the people who come to rally in that. But in Maldives, I would have to say that from the book also, I think we have made that point very clear, our parties have no real binding force. And the only binding force in our country's parties are the leader. The leader is a well-known person, or the leader is a very big magnate, business magnate, or other kind of force that is charismatic, you could say also. But that's not enough to form a party. It might be interesting for people to know that George Washington, who was the first president of the United States after their independence from from England, he did not want parties. He categorically did not want parties because he felt America would be divided. Because they fought a war of independence, a civil war with the South and North of the nation, which had different ideals. The North wanted freedom for people. The South wanted, slavery and domination. So this whole thing also brought people together finally in the War of Independence. And when that came, with that clearly and hot on their minds, they wouldn't want the nation to be divided. Now, the founders of the United States and the system that they have, which we have also borrowed to do it in our nation, they don't have too many parties. That is because you have to have something. For or against, somebody must have. But it's not like a parliamentary system where you have 10, 20 parties. And the parties are the ones that govern the nation rather than here, which is the president and the cabinet who govern the nation. So if you're going to follow that, we got to make the parties become more sensible. Right now, the chaotic nature of this is very incendiary because people look to the leader as their boss and the leader for their sustenance, the leaders for their welfare and family and everything, the jobs and all that, which is the head of corruption rising. Nepotism and all these things come from this avenue of you having privilege over somebody else. And so you say, we have come to we are doing a program on a national TV. Not a national TV, it's a private TV. And this is also one group that is vying for visibility. And there
Are
are
we?
no, meaning group in the sense of a nation, TV station,
Okay.
right? So I think we got to look at it in a very not an adversarial way, but a critical analysis of these things must come before we can bring everybody together. Because otherwise you have divided people with views that are just only very visceral. It's not from the head. It is, I will support these views come what may. With that attitude, we are going to have people who will grind their feet in the ground and say, I'm not going to move an inch. But democratic nations, democratic ideal calls for discussion. Wamrum Shura Bainahum is also about discussion. How have we seen any of these people discussing? No, they won't come to the same table to discuss an issue. This is where the system has to change. If I want something, we cannot say, I have to have my way. It has to be a composite solution, which means, as you said, bipartisanism, not only multipartisanism, cannot work to bring solutions. Just by being that, with an argument. In the Majlis also, if you see people are arguing, people are not coming together. They're not trying to come to terms.
And
So that is important. And I think those are the issues that we have highlighted there. Now, it's a very difficult thing to talk about because everybody is afraid they may lose their position. How can you bring your mind to say in a critical way with freedom and trust what you feel when you know something is hanging over your head?
Yeah, actually,
Yes.
I just want to add one more point to what Dr. Sattar just mentioning about the formation of parties, political parties here in Maldives. Obviously, in a democratic environment, formation of parties must be a very sincere and very noble objective to achieve a very noble objectives out of formation of political parties. But the question is, do our political parties functioning, are those political parties functioning the right way as being assumed or as we been anticipating? As I see myself, the political parties are functioning like a tribal way of dividing people and segregating the whole society. Rather, the formation of political parties is to achieve that noble objective, means to have inclusiveness, to bring all segment of the society together by representing their different views as to unite them with all these diversities.
Well, our time is up for the day. We have raised very important issues of governance, and perhaps we haven't touched is, perhaps for another day we can extend this, the economics and politics are taking the country apart. There is no relationship between economics and politics. So these are too discrete as far as politics is concerned, as we see it going on, unfortunately.
I would say politics and economics are working together, but in the wrong way. We are forgetting a very important thing of democracy, which is the plight of the people. We are focusing a lot on economics. We just like our detractors or whoever want us to be focusing on gross national product. Now, gross national product is a very important thing, But if you think that is the only thing that we need in a nation to progress, then that's a very sad situation. You need the other part where character, responsibility, creative thinking, good education, good health, all these things are a major part of it.
Well, yeah.
So those things have to become. So when I said about parties, it's a very important point to make. The parties, if they can rally around a nice, good philosophy, like I would say, for instance, a fisherman's party, or education party, or environmentalist party,
Workers' Party and so on.
workers' party, these will bring people to come together for a common ideal.
So we have
Otherwise, we are doing the same thing. Everybody
We have to
does the same thing.
call it a day. Yeah. Anyway, we have to rally support of the people for real politic, not for gimmicks that has nothing to do with economic stability and future of the country. Dr. Absar Yusuf, thank you very much.
Please read the book.
Yes, this is the translation, and do read this book. This book is available at some bookstores and obviously at Endeavour, not at bookstores,
Yeah.
I believe.
Right now it is, you may contact Endeavour.
Yeah. So this is a good read. I hope you will enjoy this. Dr. Ibrahim Zakaria Musa, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.